There we go. Strange. Bet you that's what it is. They done got my internet all jacked up over here. Okay. I think we're okay now. Okay. So, in any case, sorry about that. Now, where were we? We were looking into our link pad here. And on our link pad, um, it shows that you can get link pad 6 or 5. You want to get 6 because that's the latest one. And what I need to do on mine is I need to update mine actually. But this is LinkPad, and let me kind of give you a really quick um, to, tour here. Can't get that word out, y'all. It's the light. It's the light. So this is the dark mode of LinkPad, and what you have here is over here on the left, you have your connections box over here. Over here on the lower left, you have some sample code and some tutorials. This is a really great place to start if you're new to tutorial to C Sharp and to .NET and stuff like that, and to SQL. Um, Up here on the right, you see me. I've got my licensing information in there, and then you've got a execute F5 or Alt X button. This is the same as hitting the debug button in your Visual Studio. This is your pause button, and this is your stop button. This button will break when an exception is unhandled, which means that if your code throws an exception, it will stop there. This one will break when an exception is thrown. Um, we can get into that in a minute. This is just a display to give you text or a grid of data. And then you've got a bunch of different languages in here. So you've got C Sharp. You have an expression, which is just one line of C Sharp code. You've got a statements, which you can write a bunch of different C Sharp statements. And then you've got a C Sharp program, which will give you a void main sub. And then you can create classes and stuff like that. You also have Visual Basic, excuse me, as well. You got F Sharp, which is an interpreter language, I believe, or functional programming language, and then you've got SQL here. And so, what I'm going to do in this particular tutorial video, let me make sure I'm sharing what I need to share here. I am, okay. What I'm going to do in this tutorial video is I'm going to show you, after you've downloaded LinkPad, how to tie LinkPad into your SQL Server and to write some code that will actually get you information back. It's 10:15. I endeavored to try to do this in less than 45 minutes. So let me do one other thing. I want to make this code a little bit bigger so you can see there. There we go. And maybe for the sake of being able to see what's going on here, what I'll do is I'll take this off dark mode here for you. Cancel. I like dark mode, but we'll just switch it back to the default right now. There we go. Okay. And then keep in mind that I'm using a paid version, so I have IntelliSense support. If you're using the free version, you won't have the IntelliSense support, which is fine, because that makes you wonder, makes you check your code even more. How did I stumble across this? Well, where I work at, I was talking to an old coworker of mine who happens to work at the same place as I do now, and he said, "Hey man, you ever heard of this thing called LinkPad?" I was like, "No, I've never heard of it." So he showed it to me, and I was like, okay, whatever, and kind of kept going on. And then one day, one of my other coworkers who's on the actual team that I'm on, he was doing a code review of mine, and he put some of my code in a LinqPad query, and I was like, oh. so so I then was like, well, let me learn a little bit more about this LinqPad stuff, and lo and behold, I love this. I love this thing. I just used it earlier today to kind of, you know, um, test something out. It is a great scratch pad. What is a scratch pad? Well, instead of writing all of your code in Visual Studio and then compiling it and having to debug it and all kind of stuff, you can write bits and pieces of code in LinqPad just to proof of concept them, right? It's like a scratch pad. It's a sandbox, basically, for you to try out new things. And then if it works for you, what you can do is you can save it in the LinqPad query and give it to somebody else, and they can run it if they have LinqPad as well. So I'm going to show you how you're going to tie this all together. So let me show you the expression part here first. Let's say I want to know what it's going to look like if I output a date into a specific string. Okay, so to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say date time that now to string, and let's say I want a specific strings type here. Okay, so let's say D. And if I hit F5, what it should do is show me. Oh, you know what? I didn't do this. You have to write your output to the console. So let me do that too. Let me make that just a smidge smaller here. And boom. Now let me run that. And see, this is what it looks like here when I use this line of code. So let's say I wanted to see what outputting it this way would give me. F, 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 something like that. I'm not sure if that's one or not, but there we go, right? Or let's say I wanted T to 19, okay? So this is a great scratch pad for you to say, how do I do that? How do I write that in code? And then you can do it this way. So that's what statements give you, okay? And I'm sorry, expressions give you that. Statements will give you a group of statements. So now, if I want to take this statement here and I want to build upon it, then what I can do is I can write something around this. So I can say if, let's say if, make a var something up here equals 1, 2, 3. And I can say if something equals 1, 2, 3, and do this like that. Okay. Now if I run it, it's going to give me the same thing, basically. But this gives you the ability to write more than one C# statement or line of code. And then you've got your program. And so now you can see it's stubbed in a void main method up here. And then there's a note down here that you can create other classes and methods. So you can actually create class. You can actually create classes this way and actually create a program, you know, kind of this way. So let's say I want to make a property here. String 1. Int 1. Ooh. here, what I can do is I can say var my MC equals new my class, and I can come down here and MC dot, and I can reference the properties and attributes of that class. Okay, so that's what this allows you to do with the C# program. Okay, now let me open up another tab here. And if there are any questions, please reach out to me on Slack here or not. Or you can also reach out to me. Actually, I see a guy here. Let's see who's got. Let me go over here. Go over here. Did I put the new link out there? I think just copy this link here. I'm gonna put it over here. Paste it in there. I believe that's the right one. I think that's the right one here. Yep, that's the right one. Okay. So, that's C#. Now, VB is just another language. You know, it's another programming language. And what it does is hold on, y'all. I gotta go dispense some. I see lights going off in there. All VB, all VB is just a different programming language. Okay, it's Visual Basic, and so it's very similar to VB Script, but it's a object-oriented. Visual Basic is object-oriented, where VB Script is a scripting. So what I can do is I can come over here and do the same thing that I did over in C#. So let's take this line here. I'm going to copy this line here. Come over here to Query 2. Go to VB Expression. A single quotation mark is a comment in Visual Basic. And I'm just going to write the exact same line in Visual Basic. Console, write line, date time, now, toString, T. Now in Visual Basic, you don't have to have semicolons at the end of your statement. So if I run this, it says expression accepted, expected here. So let's see here. What did I do wrong here? Dim some string. Oh, you know what? I see what I did wrong here, I think. Console write line. What did I do, Alex? 1, 2, 1, 2. It's been a while since I've written VB code, y'all. Dim string equals so string as string. And I don't think that's right. There we go. Okay, that's a VB expression. You'll note that it's very similar to what I have over here, right? Now, if I want to do a VB statement, what I need to do is I need to do this. Dim some string as string equals that. And then I say console, write line, some string. And if I run that, I get the exact same thing here. Okay. Now I can do the VB program, and you'll notice it stubs out my main here and my main here as well. And I can come down here and I can say, oh shoot, dim my class as class. It's been a while. Let me go back to my favorite buddy, VB net classes. Oh, it's been so long since I've done this in VB here. All right, so public. Oh, there we go. There we go. Class. My class. In class. Public class. My class. Why is it doing that? That's kind of weird. In class. Customer. In class. And then this is how you would do a property in Visual Basic here. Why is it not liking that? Oh, it's not liking that. Class is a formula, blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's because I have it. Let me take the public off of there. There, no. I guess my class wasn't, it didn't like my class. Okay, so come down here. And this is how you create a property in Visual Basic. And instead of it being field name, what do we call our other one over here? String 1, int 1, and bool 1. String, I'll do this in underscore string 1, and string, and this is going to be string 1 here. And we'll just kind of copy this here because we're gonna, this is going to be int 1, this is a capital S, and bool. And int 1 is an integer, and bool 1 is boolean. And so we've got string 1 ready to go here. We've got a getter and a setter. We need to take this and make this an S. That an S. And then we're going to copy this property here. And we're going to do int 1 as an integer. And return int 1 here. And return int 1 here. And this is an integer. And we'll do it one more time. You can see why C# is a much better option here. It's a lot less typing. Bool 1 here as boolean. And this will be bool 1. Boolean. And this will be boolean 1 here. So this is a class here. Make it public class. And then up here, let's try to mimic our code that we did here. We're going to have var myc, which instead is going to be dim mc as that class equals new that class. Excuse me. And then we had a var something here. So we can't do var in Visual Basic. We can dim something equals 1, 2, 3. But you got to dim it as an integer. Okay. And then we come down and we put a conditional in here and say if something equals 1, 2, 3, then and if it's actually throwing extra stuff in there. And I don't think that's what we had in there. Console write line. That's where we had. There we go. So this is basically doing the same code that we were doing in our C#. And it's much, much more verbose, I'd say. You got a lot more stuff that you have to type in Visual Basic. But if we run this, we'll do the same thing, right? Let me put a breakpoint on here so I can show you how that works. Put a breakpoint here, put a breakpoint here. So if we run this, it should stop here. You see the little arrow there. If I hit F10, it steps in there. And in F10 here again, and it just steps through my code, and it gives me my code there. Same thing here, F10, and it gives me my code there. So, make sure I'm still recording here. Yep. So that's how you can learn 2 separate programming languages at the same time in this tool. It's wonderful for this. If you don't know either programming language, the best way to do it is to learn it in one and then try and do it in the other. And then that way you learn 2 syntaxes at the same time. That's actually really cool. Okay. I'm not going to mess with F#. I don't know anything about F#. Now, how are we going to connect our query? I'm going to add another query. How are we going to connect our database to our LinqPad here? Well, glad you asked. Up here where it says add connection, just click add connection. And there's a nice little library in here called LinqSQL, and it's already optimized for SQL Server. So I'm going to click next. And then you'll have your server name, and that's going to correspond with whatever your server is called over here. I'm using my Windows authentication. That's how I signed into this over here. I'm going to specify a new or existing. And as soon as you click this, if you don't get an error there, and you click this little down arrow, and you see stuff in this list, that means you're connected and you're good to go. So let's see here. Let's connect to our C# fundamentals database. And actually, let's just create a database. Let's call it checkbook. Say create database. Never done this before. Okay. So if I come over to my SQL Server Management Studio, and I come over here, I should see checkbook in here. There it is right there. All right. And you can click test, and you'll get a little pop-up that says connection successful. Say okay there, and say okay. And now if you look up here, you'll see in the drop down that you'll see your database here. You can click use that database, and now you're connected to this database. Now there's no tables in there because we have to create a table. So to do that, you have to learn SQL. So to switch to the SQL language, we're going to click the little down arrow and click SQL here. And now we can write actual SQL to create tables and stuff. So let's create a real simple table. Create table. We're just going to call it credits. And let's put our parens in there. And we're going to put an ID in there. And we're going to make this credit ID a, I don't know, what do I want to do here? Let's make it a big int. And we'll call it not null. I think it's identity 1, 1, I think. Let me see. I always forget how to do this here. Create table, identity, C increment. Identity. Yep, I did it right. What do you know? Okay. So that's our credit ID. And we're going to say we need a transaction date. And we're going to call that a date. Not null. And we're going to need a transaction amount. Make that money, not null. And we're going to need a vendor or a what do you call it? Pay to or debit or your memo line or whatever you call, not your memo, pay to. We'll just call it vendor ID. Vendor ID. We're gonna go, that's a big int. Not null. And then we're gonna have vendor name. We're gonna make that a varchar. We'll make that 150 characters, not null. Vendor name, it's a credit, and then we've got the amount, date, memo, line. We'll make this varchar 100 bytes. That can be null. And then we'll need the account number, and we're going to make that big int, not null. And we're going to have a routing number. Okay, accounting number, routing number, and a check number. We actually should make these, yeah, we'll make that one null, because it may not be a check. It might be an ACH or a debit card. Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's copy this. I'm going to create another table and call it debits. Lowercase. And this one's going to be called debit ID. Transaction amount. There we go. So we're going to hit our execute up here. And what that should do is it should create two tables, which it did there, in our SQL database. And then we'll make one more table. Now, since we've executed this SQL, we can't execute this SQL anymore because we've got two tables in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to just comment this out real quick. And we're going to create one more table and call it general ledger, or call it ledger or something like that. And we'll just copy this and call it ledger. And we'll just call this ID. Instead of it being an identity there, I'll make this one a primary key. And we're going to have the amounts. And then in this one, we're going to have it, whether or not it's a debit or a credit in here. We'll make that a bit, and we're going to make that not null. Okay. And we're just going to hit F5 on this one here. We should have one more table pop up here. There's our general ledger table. Alright, so we'll make one more query. And now we can insert information into this table here. Got about 15 minutes, y'all. So let's say I want to insert into my credit table. And we have our credit table here. Our ID is an identity field, so we don't have to worry about that one. Into, let's see how we can do this. Oop. Yeah. Insert into credits, and it's not liking that. There we go. Date, and we're gonna have our date, our amount, and you can drag and drop this too, like this. Uh-oh. Vendor ID, vendor name, memo line, account number, and memo line is nullable, so we don't need memo line. Account number, routing number, and check number, which I believe is nullable. Yeah, I just noticed we need to make we need to redo these tables here real quick. The reason why is because what we need to do is we need to give those two tables a primary key. If I come back over here and I look in here, there we go. get rid of that. And that. And general ledger is fine. There we go. And there we go. Now, if we come back over here, insert into those, and it doesn't like that. Values. And the date is going to be today, which is going to be 2021 10. Today's 11th. Transaction amount is going to be $150. Vendor ID is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Vendor name is going to be test vendor. Account number is going to be 7654321. And routing number is going to be 104 1234 12345 6. And let's try to insert into that. Where am I missing something here? I'm missing something here. Checkbook. Insert. Huh. Well, if I do that over here, come on. It won't give me no mistake there. Execute. Oh. There we go. Comma, syntax error, something is expected there. Oh, 2011, that's the date, the amount, vendor ID, vendor name, memo line is blank, account number, routing number, check number. Huh. So apparently it doesn't like my syntax here. So let's see if it's this right here. I wonder if it's wanting me to do link on this one here. I wonder if that's the issue. Let's try this right here. So this is actually trying to get me to do link actually in here, like real link. And actually, let me just insert a bunch of these here. Let's see. So I'll show you what this does here. So this is actually C# here. That's probably why that's not liking me here. No, that doesn't make sense. Oh, yeah, there we go. So one of the things that I was doing wrong here, if you go back over here, you see how it says C# expression up there? If you don't change that, you're going to be wasting a lot of your time like I just did. Because it's expecting C# there, and I was trying to write SQL there. So just switch this to SQL, and you'll be writing in SQL. Who knew? Okay, so I'm going to insert a few of these here. I'm going to come back. And since this is C# over here, now I'm going to write some link to grab all of those rows that I inserted. So I've got a bunch of rows in here. They're the same. So if I say credits, select C, new. And what I can do is I can create a list of I can create a list of objects here. So I can say new, and I can say credit like that. And I can come over here and I can say, let's say I want vendor ID. See that vendor ID. And let's say I want the amount too. See that amount. Okay. And let's say I want to see all of those right there. So I can say, yeah, I can just do this. And that should give me a list of, like this. Got 5 minutes. Bar credit in credits. Credit. And let's see what that does. That gives us all of our credits in a list of credits here. See that? And I can output each of them there. I mean, they're all going to be the same anyway, so. But it shows me that I have a bunch of them in there. Let's say I want to write, I just want to get a list of a number of them. And let's use string interpolation and say there are returned were, and I hit 5 there. There were 19. Let's say I come over here and I add 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Run this. There are 22. So this allows you to write action, and this is C# code here that you can use. You can take this code and copy it and put it into C#. Now, obviously, what you want to do if it's a C# program is you probably want to do something like this, where I can come in here and I can say the credits. And make a couple there. Let's say I just want those 3 properties there. When I can do this, I can say credit ID, which is big int, which would be a long. Credit ID is a long. And prop. Oop. Vendor ID. Prop. Decimal. All right. And I can come up here, and instead of saying new, I can say credits. This. And this would be a transaction amount there. And vendor ID would be vendor ID. And I don't want to call it credit model. Call it credit class. Credit class, something like that. And then credit ID, which is going to be capitalized there. And so now that gives me a list of credit class. I can come down here and say var my credit list equals that. And instead of saying credits, I say my credit list count. And I can run that. And it says there were 22 returns still. Because I have a list of credits here, object of the credits. So what Linq does is it gives me a list of these, this class here. So if you want to learn more about LinqPad, I'm going to put a link to the description, no pun intended, of LinqPad, where to download it. I'll put that in the Slack right now. Bam. And I'll come over here and do the same thing. Bam. Yeah, I guess I'll put that here too as well. Bam. Alrighty. So if you want to learn more about how LinqPad works, it's a great tool to use for if you want to learn C# or VB or even F#, and if you want to learn SQL at the same time, LinqPad is a great one. It's got a lot less overhead than C# does. So there you go. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Hope this found you well. God bless and peace.